In this lesson, we will create bone objects for the creature's jaw and legs. Let's say we get started with the jaw. We'll head over to Tools, Manage Layers, and let's go ahead and show our model. Now I'd like to point out as we switch between wireframe mode and texture mode by pressing F3, see it takes a little while for the texture to load in, and that's simply due to the fact that we're working with the realistic engine. Let's go ahead and right click and make sure we're working with shaded instead, just to kind of speed things along a bit. Alright, so I'll make sure that that is set for not only the left view but for our front view as well. We can make sure it's set to shaded, and we can do so for our perspective view as well. So we'll go ahead and right click and set this to shaded. Alright, it's a bit better. Okay, heading back over to our left view. Let's go ahead and press F3 again to go back to edge mode. Next, let's figure out where the jaw should pivot from. Now typically, if we're looking at the side view, it would be right around where the ear would be. That's where the articulation point would be at. Now, in this case, the creature doesn't have ears, but we could still kind of guess where that spot would be. As you get more familiar with rigging, you kind of can figure out where those articulation points should end up. So in this case, the point we need is right at the center of our neck bone here. It doesn't have to be perfectly centered, but around that spot should give us some really nice results as we rotate the jawbone. So let's go ahead and create it now. We'll grab our bone tools, choose Create Bones. We'll go ahead and click right in the center, not on the neck bone at all. And then we'll go ahead and end it at the lower lip. Alright, sweet. Let's go ahead and right click to exit our bones mode. From there, we'll go ahead and grab our jawbone. We'll have it renamed to BN Jaw 01. Let's go ahead and copy this name and rename the nub. That will be BE Jaw 01. Alright, sweet. So from here, we can now go ahead and hide our model, grab the jaw root, and link that to our head bone. Once we've managed to link the object, it's then time to freeze our transforms. If we don't do it in that order, if we do it in reverse order, and we try to use transform to 0, we might notice that our object shifts. It essentially offsets itself from the position we've placed it at because we're changing its space, its parent space, once we link it to another object. That's why it's always safe to freeze transforms after you have linked. So after we've linked this bone object, we can go ahead and press Control Page down to grab its entire hierarchy, and we can now Alt right click and choose Freeze Transform. Alright, beautiful. So there is our jawbone. So we start to move the head bone, the jaw will follow. Sweet. Let's go ahead and take our bone objects here that we've just added, and we'll add them to our envelope layer. Great, so once we manage to do that, we can now go ahead and work on the legs. Now you'll see that when we bring back our model, you'll notice that the creature also has arms. We're not going to work on the arms just yet. We're just focused on the legs right now. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to work. We'll go to more of a front view. We'll press F3 to go back to wireframe mode, and let's go ahead and grab our bones tool here. It's kind of tricky to figure out where we should start and end this chain, but we'll just kind of guess that right now, and then we'll make sure to reposition the chain afterwards. So let's go ahead and start to build this. Create the femur, the tibia, the tarsal. We'll end right at the end of our leg. It's a really cool leg. Okay, let's go ahead and move it back to our perspective view. Let's go ahead and grab the root of this chain, and we'll go ahead and place it right here on this front leg on the creature's left side. And since this kind of connects into the petiole, we'll make sure that that's a part of its name. And then the leg system at the back will have gaster in its name. Alright, so we'll go ahead and grab our root here, we'll press F3, and we'll start to translate this forward. Alright, sweet. So next, let's say we go in and start to reorient this a bit more in gimbal mode, either that or local. Now let me point something out. In gimbal mode, you'll notice that the orientation is a bit off because we haven't frozen the transforms of this object. So if we were to go ahead and alt-right click and use freeze transform, that resets the rotation. Now that's a bit easier for us to work with. Once we link this, we'll need to make sure that we freeze its transforms again, just to make sure that we can always reset this bone object. Let's go ahead and bring back the model, and we'll start to kind of fix the placement of this chain by rotating it in the y-axis, twisting it around in the x-axis, and I think that looks really good. Didn't have much to do to fix this chain. Alright, sweet. So let's just double check to make sure that everything looks nice. And now, with that root still selected, we'll go ahead and press Control Page Down to grab its entire hierarchy. We'll press Control V to clone it as a copy. We'll choose OK. Let's grab our Move tool, and we'll start to move this back in our y-axis to the rear leg. Great, so now it's just a matter of doing what we've done before. We'll go ahead and grab our root object. Let's go ahead and start to twist it around a bit so it fits nicely inside of our mesh. Start to grab the y-axis and do the same thing, kind of twist it and swivel it around until we've managed to fit it nicely inside of this rear leg. Remember, you could always work with bone edit mode if you need to. You might have to do that. We're getting as close as possible without using bone edit mode. Great. So we use bone edit mode, of course, to kind of fine-tune the placement of each bone object. Now I think we're ready to do that now. Let's go ahead and turn that on. We'll set our move tool to local, and we'll tweak this one bone object at a time. So let's make sure that we only have our root selected, and we'll translate this down in our x-axis. Let's place it at the right spot. Might go ahead and translate it up in the y-axis as well, so it's centered in the leg. Alright, now going to the tibia, can go ahead and move this in the x and y axes on that plane. That looks good. We just want to lower it a bit. Then we can now go to the tarsus, and we'll go ahead and start to tweak that the same way in the y and x. Now let's go ahead and grab the nub. Let's take a look. It needs to be moved over in the z-axis, so we'll go ahead and do that. And then we can go ahead and also move it in the y-axis to bring it forward. That looks great. Alright, let's go ahead and turn off bone edit mode. It's now time to work on renaming these objects, mirroring them across, and then we can have them linked to the gaster. We'll also want these to be added to our envelope layer, so we'll take care of that last. Let's go ahead and hide our model. Now, since this front chain here connects into the petiole, that's what connects the gaster to the rest of the body, we can go ahead and make sure it's a part of the name of this chain. So we'll go ahead and get started here. That's going to be bn underscore L, since it's on the left side of our model, underscore petiole, that's Petiole, underscore femur 01. Alright, sweet. Let's go ahead and copy this name. Go to the tibia, paste, and instead of femur, that will be tibia. Alright, now we come to the tarsus. So we'll go ahead and paste, change femur here to tarsus. And then finally, when we get to the nub, I'll just go ahead and copy the name that we have just named this bone with, and we'll use that to rename our nub, but instead of BN, it's going to be BE. Alright, sweet. So once that's taken care of, we can go ahead and take care of this leg at the very back, and instead of petiole, we'll use gaster. So I'll go ahead and pause the video and take care of that. Alrighty, so each bone has now been renamed. Now before we're ready to link, let's go ahead and first mirror this across. Now let me show you something. Let's go ahead and start with this chain at the front. We can switch our move tool to world space, and that's going to give us the values we need to make sure that this mirrors over correctly. Let's go ahead and take what we find in our x-axis. Let's go ahead and copy that value. We'll need that. Now, with our root still selected, we'll press Control Page Down. We'll grab our bone tools. Let's go ahead and choose Mirror. So now what we can do is start using the offset. But in order to make sure that this mirrors over perfectly, let's go ahead and just choose OK with just an arbitrary value in the offset field. And with our root selected, we'll now go to our X coordinate. Let's go ahead and paste, and we want to use the reciprocal of what we've copied. So that's going to be negative 0.5 in my case. Alright, so that will make sure that this bone actually mirrors over at the right distance. Let's do the same thing for the object at the back. Let's go ahead and select that root. Go ahead and copy its X value with our Move tool set to World Mode. Then we'll go ahead and press Control Page Down to grab its entire chain. We'll choose Mirror. We'll choose OK. And now grabbing just the root, we'll go ahead and paste in that value. We'll use the reciprocal, so that's going to be about negative 1.35 in my case. Alright, sweet. So once we've managed to do that, you'll see that each of these bone objects that we have mirrored has a suffix of mirrored. So what I'd like to do is just go ahead and change the L here to an R since it's on the right side of our model, and we can go ahead and get rid of mirrored. Let's go ahead and take care of that for each of these bone objects. So I'll pause the video and do that on my end. Alrighty, so each bone object has been renamed. It's now time to go in and grab each root. We'll have them all linked over to the gaster bone. So we'll go ahead and grab our link tool and take care of that. Once we've done that, let's go ahead and press Control Page Down with each root still selected. We'll now Alt right click and choose Freeze Transform, and then we'll have them stored in the envelope layer. Alright, sweet. So take a look, we have our legs rigged, making great progress. We only have a few more areas to cover. So let's go ahead and stop the lesson here and continue working on our skeleton in the following lesson.